talk about periodic trends. So, periodic trends are properties that we can predict from the periodic table. And we actually already talked about one of them, which is electronegativity. But there are still two more that we need to discuss and understand. So, the first one is atomic radius. So, atomic radius is supposed to be literally like the size of the atom. And the atomic radius, we need to know that that increases going down and to the left. So basically, the atomic radius increases going down the column, or in other words, down the group. Okay, so let's talk about why does it increase going down? Why does the size of the atom increase going down? Okay, so the reason why the radius increases as we go down is basically each row on the periodic table is actually the number of energy levels. Okay, so for example, everyone on row 1 only has one energy level. Everyone on row 2 has 2 energy levels. Everyone on row 3 has 3 energy levels. Everyone on row 4 has 4 energy levels. So definitely you can see that as you go down and we're adding more and more and more energy levels, obviously the size of the atom is going to get bigger. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the elements on the 7th row are going to have 7 energy levels. And like I said, if there are 7 energy levels, then the size of that atom is going to be much bigger than an atom with only 1 or 2 or 3 energy levels. And the reason why it increases going to the right and it, decreases going to the right and increases going to the left has to do with the valence electrons. Okay, so for example, let's for a moment think, okay. First, we definitely need to know that electrons are negatively charged, and the nucleus is positively charged. So things that are negatively charged are going to be attracted to things that are positively charged. So the negatively charged electrons are attracted to the positively charged nucleus. Okay. So Basically, one thing that we also need to know about is um, let's think for a minute. Let's think about the nucleus as kind of like a dog walker, and then the valence electrons as like the dogs. So, for example, if here's the nucleus, the dog walker, and then we have one valence electron. If you're walking only one dog, you probably could let that one dog have a pretty long leash. Just, I mean, that's not that hard to control. Okay, now let's say that there's two dogs. Okay, so if you imagine trying to walk two dogs, you probably are going to pull them a little bit closer together. And then if there's three valence electrons, or like three dogs, you're going to pull them pretty close because now that's a lot harder to walk three dogs. And then let's say you have seven dogs that you're trying to walk. You're probably going to pull them all very, 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 very close because that's very difficult to walk seven dogs all at the same time. So you can see that the size of the atom decreases as you go to the right. Because of the increasing number of valence electrons, they're going to pull them closer. Okay, now let's take a look at ionization energy. So ionization energy is the amount of energy that's required to remove an electron. So basically, the higher the ionization energy, um, then the more difficult that it is to remove an electron. Okay. So ionization energy increases going up and to the right. So helium and neon, for example, are going to have very, very high ionization energy levels. Okay, and then let's talk about why the ionization energy is increasing as you go up. So it partially has to do with the energy levels again. So everyone on row one has one energy level. Row two has two energy levels. Row three has three energy levels. Four has four energy levels. Five has five energy levels. Three, four, five. Okay. Everyone in column one is only going to have one valence electron. Okay, so everyone on, like I said, in column one only has one valence electron. So I once heard this compared to almost like a concert. And so you can imagine that the nucleus is a stage, and all of the energy levels are kind of like rows for the concert. So basically, the farther out you are from the stage, if you think about it, there are going to be all of these people between you and the stage. And it's going to kind of decrease your attraction. And so this is actually called what's called the shielding effect, because these electrons are literally shielding or blocking that outer valence electron from being attracted to the nucleus. And so basically, it's actually not going to take that much energy to take this one valence electron away from the nucleus. Okay, versus imagine, for example, on this top row, let's imagine, yeah, for example, the hydrogen where the valence electron is like right next to the nucleus, because there's only one energy level anyway. That would be like being on the first row of the concert, right next to the stage. So imagine how difficult it would be to take somebody away from that. It would take a very, 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 very high amount of energy in order to remove it. Okay. And then the ionization energy level definitely increases going to the right because of the increasing number of valence electrons. Right, the more valence electrons, then the more difficult that it is. And then we've already gone over electronegativity. Electronegativity, remember, is supposed to be the greediness of the atom, and that is supposed to increase as we go up and to the right. Okay, Okay, now okay, that should be it for the atomic structure. Let me see what else was needed for the chemistry. Okay, let's actually maybe work on something different from chemistry. Let's maybe look a little bit at reading. Okay, so let's take a look at hmm, vocabulary and context. Okay, let's go ahead and start taking a look at how to determine the meaning of words using context clues. So there are four different types of context clues. There's examples, synonym, antonyms, and also a general sense of the passage. Okay, so examples suggest the meaning of the word. So, in other words, like later in the sentence or even later in the same paragraph, there could be an example of an unknown word. So here, for example, it says, if we had any initiative, we'd be chasing mice right now instead of letting them run wild in the kitchen. So, in other words, chasing the mice instead of letting them run wild um, is an example of taking initiative. Okay, so if that's an example of taking initiative, then what do you think that initiative would mean?
Ability to take charge.
Mm-hmm. Right, because they would be taking charge. Okay, now, right, sometimes hints that there's an example of the unknown word. So words like, for example, for instance, including, and such as are, right, clues that there's an example of the unknown word as in the passage. So here it says the adverse effects of this drug, including dizziness, nausea, and headaches, have caused it to be withdrawn from the market. Okay, so the including dizziness, nausea, and headaches are it's supposed to be examples of the adverse effects. Okay, now because dizziness, nausea, and headaches um, are all examples of adverse effects, then we can assume that adverse must mean something negative. Okay, now synonyms. So, right, there, in other words, there could be um, a synonym that means something similar to the unknown word. And again, it can be either in the same sentence as the unknown word or later in the passage. Okay, here it says, my doctor said smoking could terminate my life, but I told him everybody's life has to end sometime. Okay, so basically, if we're looking for a synonym of the word terminate, um, we should basically be looking for a synonym of terminate. So the synonym of terminate must be end. Okay, so like I said, then that means that terminate must mean end. Okay, here it says, as soon as I made a flippant remark to my boss, I regretted sounding so disrespectful. Okay, so we should be looking for a synonym um, flippant. So if we're looking for a synonym of flippant, the synonym would be regretted. So, or I'm sorry, not regretted. I'm sorry, no. Um, it would be disrespectful. Okay, so the reason why I remembered the correct answer is disrespectful is synonyms have to be the same part of speech. So flippant is an adjective because it's describing what kind of a remark, but regretted is a verb. Okay, now let's see. Now let's take a look at antonyms. Antonyms, an antonym is supposed to um, be a word that means the opposite of another word, and it's also a context clue. Okay, so antonyms are sometimes signaled by words and phrases such as however, but, yet, on the other hand, instead of, and in contrast. Okay, so for example, here it says sometimes the antonym can be implied. So, um, I prefer the occasional disturbance of ear-splitting thunder to the incessant dripping of our kitchen sink. Okay, so normally when you say I prefer one thing to another, usually you're comparing opposites. So, for example, like I prefer night to day, or I prefer chocolate to vanilla. So, in this case, that means that occasional and incessant are opposites. So, if we know that occasional means every once in a while, Then incessant um, is supposed to be like nonstop, constant. Okay. And now here, for example, it's a special hearing aid. It lowers criticism and amplifies compliments. Okay, so if we know that criticisms and compliments are opposites, then that means that lowers and amplifies are opposites too. Okay, so then that means that amplifies is the opposite of lowers. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. Many people have pointed out harmful effects that a working mother may have on the family, yet there are many salutary effects. Okay, so the yet tells us that there's an antonym. So it's the opposite of harmful. Okay, so the opposite of harmful would be beneficial. Okay, now let's take a look at, or you could try these ones.
Brief.
Yes.
B, financially rewarding.
Yes. Okay, so for general sense of a passage, so for general sense of a passage, in this case, in those cases, there's not really a hint that explains what the unknown word is. We have to use context clues to figure it out. Okay, so here, actually, for general sense of the passage, actually works all the time, no matter what. Even if you don't see a synonym or an antonym, general sense of the passage will always work. So you kind of have to be imagining what would normally happen in that scenario or what would we normally feel. So, for example, my doctor said smoking could terminate my life, but I told him everybody's life has to end sometime. So, in that case, if you think about it, you could think, what would normally happen if we smoke? Well, it could kill us. So that's how we know that. That's another way that we could figure out that terminate means end. Okay, now let's take a look at no, not that one. It's a special hearing aid. It lowers criticism and amplifies compliments. So we could think about, well, normally we want to hear criticism less. And then we would want to hear compliments more. Okay. So that's another way that we could figure out that amplifies, um, um, I keep forgetting what I was going to say. Um, that's how we could figure out that amplifies means like increase. So like I said, it's more thinking about what would normally happen in that scenario. Oh, like some of these other examples. So although investments in the stock market can be lucrative, they can also result in great financial loss. So if you think about it, what happens with the stock market, um, you can either make a lot of money or you could lose a lot of money. So they already mentioned the financial loss. So that means that the lucrative part must mean that they make a lot of money. Okay, here is another good example. It says, I'd like a prescription that will alleviate my aches and pains and also make me younger and thinner. Okay, so in this case, there is no example, there's no synonym, and there's no antonym. So in this case, we just have to use general sense of the passage. Okay. And then, like if you think about it, or there's two ways to think about it. You could think about it in the terms of like what would you normally want to happen with aches and pains. And then And so you probably would want them to go away. Also, you could think about what prescriptions are normally supposed to do. So prescriptions are normally supposed to make your symptoms go away or disappear or reduce or lessen. Okay, now let me see. Okay, I'd like you to try um these.
For 8, unstated.
Mm-hmm.
For number 19, permanent.
Yes. Mhm.
For number 25, considerable.
Yes.
For number 9, it's not shocking. It's not childish. Um, C.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Should have fallen. Yes. This one's funny. I doubt it's threatened, but I'm saying it's insist. Insist. See?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Read this again. D.
Yes, D, coax. Coax and cajole both mean gently persuade, bribe.
Oh, cool. Happiness for number 12.
Yes, mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Let me see if I can find a little bit more. Okay, you can try this one, and then while you do that, I'll be right back in a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm back.
It's complete.
Perfect. Now they want to know what sentence told you that it meant complete.
Well, because me personally, I read that there were more than 400,000 words and phrases, making it the most comprehensive. So I figured
Yeah.
complete. Evolves would be changes. Well, the same sentence, because because language constantly evolves, and then supplements have been added over the years to account for the new words.
I'm sorry, pardon?
It's asking if what helps me to understand what evolve means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because language constantly evolves. And then I read the other sentence where it says changing meanings and have been added.
Yeah.
Skillful, because their brains have developed differently.